Okay, so a little bit more on site survey. We talked about the fact that it's an assessment of the area. Okay, it's going to give us signal strength. We can understand what SSIDs are being broadcast, perhaps what encryption is being used or protocols on these different networks, et cetera, et cetera. It can be good or bad, as we can understand, or as you may have already guessed. The good, it allows us as the IT person to determine optimal access point placement or placements throughout the building. We know, again, if it's big enough, we may have multiples. It helps us to minimize interference, and it provides for optimal signal throughout the building. Okay, so that's good. But it can also be bad because that same technology can be used by hackers to determine, again, equipment, protocols, security, etc. And so it's sometimes referred to as war driving or war chalking. All right, so two terms that you should be familiar with. War driving, basically people will either literally drive by. They can use very, very kind of customized kind of cantennas, which is a directional antenna. They used to be made out of Pringles cans, but it can be made out of a number of different things that you can use to pinpoint and point at specific buildings and get a pretty decent range, an extended amount of range, just to identify, if that specific building is generating or broadcasting its SSID, and get the information upon the wireless networks and so forth. Or it can be as simple as just walking down the street on your laptop or mobile device and understanding what access points are available, and then you'll get a clear indication of what protocols, whether it's open, whether it's secure, etc., etc. So war chalking is kind of an extension of that, where that hacker will, or not necessarily a hacker, but a lot of times it's used by hackers, they'll walk by or they'll discover that there is an access point or a Wi-Fi network there. Then they'll turn around and they'll draw some type of symbol, whether it's on the sidewalk, the side of the building, etc., to let others, hackers or whoever, know what types of networks are present. And so there are a couple different kind of pieces of graffiti that you should be familiar with, to understand what these things mean. And you can see we have ones for open node, and it will list out the SSID and the bandwidth that's on that node or on that network. It'll show another symbol if it's a closed node, and it'll give you the SSID on top. Or if it's a WEP node, it'll say the SSID, the access contact, and the bandwidth. Okay, so these different types of things you'll see marked on the sidewalks in front of buildings, sometimes on the side of the building. There's a newer set of standards as well, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But here's an example of one where they were chalked and just basically said, hey, it's an open network, and here is the SSID, and we see it's 1.5. That's the bandwidth that's on that specific network. There's another set of war chalking diagrams that have kind of takes that to another level, whether it's free Wi-Fi, and you can kind of go through and just understand what all of these are. So just kind of get a general understanding that there is an entire kind of set of symbols that allow people, again, typically hackers or people that are looking to access other people's Wi-Fi networks, that, hey, there's something here, here's the SSID, and so on and so forth. Come on in. All right, so just be aware of what these things are.